This video is about coordinate conversions and specifically converting between a polar coordinate to a rectangular coordinate. Okay, so converting from polar to rectangular, you got to remember the relationships that we had on the unit circle. Okay, for instance, we said the cosine of theta was the adjacent side over the hypotenuse, so it was x over r, right? Now, if I put that cosine over 1 and I cross multiply, I get r cosine theta equals x. And this is one of the equations we will use, as you notice down here, to help us convert. Similarly, if I do the sine of theta, it's the opposite over the hypotenuse, which is r. And if I cross multiply, I get r sine theta equals y. And this is our conversion equation that we will use to go from polar to a rectangular. So notice you have a location for the r, the radius, and for theta. And if you evaluate that, that will give you the x-coordinate, or similarly the y-coordinate. So let's try this out. Okay, so remember our little formulas. We said x is equal to r cosine theta, and y is equal to r sine of theta. Okay, so in order to find x, I'm going to take the radius and put in that, which is 3, times the cosine of theta. Theta is pi over 2. For the y, I'm going to do the same thing, radius times the sine of pi over 2. Okay, so if you need to pull out your unit circles, do so. Well, what is the cosine at pi over 2? Well, remember where pi over 2 is. Pi over 2 is right up here. Cosine is 0. Okay, so that means my x-coordinate is 0. Y, what is the sine at pi over 2? Well, the sine there is a 1. So it's just 3. So y equals 3. So my coordinate pair is 0, 3. Now, hopefully that makes sense, because if I graph the polar coordinate, I would need 3 radii, right? And this would be where it is, and that matches up. Okay, you plot the point to verify your answer. Okay, and this one matches. Let's try this one. Okay, x equals r cosine theta. So r in this situation is negative 2, and I want the cosine of 3 pi over 4. Y equals r sine of theta. So negative 2 times the sine of 3 pi over 4. All right, so let's remember where 3 pi over 4 is. That is over here. And our coordinate pair over here is negative square root of 2 over 2, positive square root of 2 over 2, right? So for x, I get negative 2 times the cosine, which would be negative square root of 2 over 2. So my 2's cancel, and the negatives times a negative becomes a positive. So x is positive square root of 2. For here, the sine at 3 pi over 4 is positive square root of 2 over 2. So those 2's cancel, but y ends up being negative square root of 2. So my coordinate pair is positive square root of 2, negative square root of 2. All right? And if I graph that, square root of 2 is like 1.4. Okay? So somewhere between 2. So if this was negative 2, I find 3 pi over 4 and I go backwards 2 units, right? That's what I would do if it was polar. If it's in the rectangular, positive square root of 2 over 2 is right here, and negative square root of 2 over 2 is right here, and sure enough, they match. Okay? Hopefully that makes some sense to you. So those rays would be in the same location. Okay? So you have plot to verify. Let's try one more. All right, x is always r cosine of theta. R is 4, and I want the cosine of negative square root of 7 pi over 6. Sorry, negative 7 pi over 6. Now let's think about this. Go back to your unit circle. Where is 7 pi over 6? 7 pi over 6 is down here. But if it's negative, it's really up here. Remember, we flip it over? So it's at the 5 pi over 6 angle, and that gives me the coordinates of negative square root of 3 over 2, positive 1/2. Okay, so those are my coordinates I'm going to use. So the cosine at negative 7 pi over 6 is negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay, and I'm going to reduce that, and I find out that x is negative 2 square roots of 3. Y is r, which is 4, sine of negative 7 pi over 6. So 4 times sine is 1/2. That would be a 2. So y is 2. So my rectangular point is negative 2 square roots of 3, comma, positive 2. So if I graph this as polar, I find out okay, it's terrible circles, but you get the idea. Negative 7 pi over 6 is over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be right about there. Okay? And hopefully that makes sense to you, that if in the rectangular version of that, negative 2 square roots of 3, if you put that in your calculator, that's over here. Positive 2, that's going to be around here. So the points do line up to be the same location, and that's how you convert them. Okay? So that's what you're going to be doing today on the homework, is converting and plotting the points to verify they're the same point. All right? Good luck, and we'll see you in class.